Teaching pays, but not in the way most people think. And if you only measure it by salary, you're missing the entire equation because the real return on teaching is layered compounding and often invisible at glance, which is exactly why so many people underestimate it and why those who understand it tend to stay in it longer than expected. And here's the reality: yes, starting salaries for teachers in many places are modest compared to other professions requiring similar education. But focusing only on the paycheck ignores the stability, the long term growth, the benefits, and the unique leverage teaching creates in your life. So let's break it down clearly and honestly first. The base pay, which varies widely depending on your location, your subject, and also your experience, but generally follows a predictable ladder, meaning you don't have to guess what you'll earn in 5 or 10 years because it's structured and transparent. And that's predictability alone has value because it reduces the uncertainty in financial planning and something many higher paying but volatile careers can't offer. Next are the benefits, which are often overlooked but can significantly boost the total compensation, including health insurance, retirement plans like pensions or 403bs, and paid time off aligned with school calendars. And while people joke about summers off, the reality is more nuanced than since many teachers use that time for planning, training, or additional income streams. But the flexibility still exists, and the flexibility is a form of payment because it gives you control over your time, which is one of the most valuable assets you can have. Now, and let's talk about job security, which is another hidden form of pay because teaching is one of the few careers where demand remains consistent. And once you establish, your layoffs are less common compared to industries driven by market swings, and that stability reduces the stress and allows for long-term planning, which again translates into real-life value, even if it doesn't show up as a bigger number on a paycheck. But here's where it gets interesting. Teaching creates opportunities for additional income that many people don't reconsider or even consider, like tutoring, coaching, summer programs, curriculum development, online courses, and even content creation. And these can stack on top of your base salary, sometimes very significantly, especially if you specialize in high demand subjects or build a reputation, meaning your earning potential isn't capped in the way people assume beyond money. Teaching pays in skills and development, and this is where the compounding effects really kick in because teachers become experts in communication, leadership, and organization, and adaptability and problem solving. And these are transferable skills that can open doors to other careers later if you choose to pivot, including administration, um, consulting, corporate training, or entrepreneurship. So the experience you gain is not the locked into one path, it's actually a launch pad. Another major factor is impact, and while it might sound less tangible, it's incredibly real because influencing students' lives creates a sense of purpose that many high paying jobs they lack. And the purpose has measurable effects on motivation, your mental health, and long term satisfaction, and which means teaching can pay you in ways that go beyond the financial metrics and directly affects your quality of life. So let's address the common criticism that teaching is undervalued, which is partly true in forms of public perception and funding in some areas. But under evaluation doesn't mean low value. It means the market isn't fully recognized yet. And the gap can actually create opportunities for those who are strategic, like moving to districts with higher paying scales, specializing in subjects with shortages, or leveraging experience into higher paying roles within education systems. Another overlooked aspect is the schedule structure, which, while demanding during the school year, often includes predictable breaks, and predictability allows for planning side projects, travel, or even rest. And that balance can be hard to achieve in careers where work bleeds into every part of your life year round. And let's also talk about career progression too, because teaching isn't static unless you choose it to be. You can move into roles like department head and structural coach and assistant principal or district level position, each with increased responsibility and pay. And if you pursue these advantages, the degrees or the certification, those often come with automatic salary increases in many systems, which again, it reinforces that structure growth model on the flip side, it's important to be honest about challenges because teaching isn't easy, okay? It requires the patience, the resilience, and emotional energy, and burnout can be a real issue if boundaries aren't managed. But that's true for many professions. And the key difference is that teaching provides built in cycles of rest and reset and can help mitigate long term burnout if it's used effectively. Another way teaching pays is through community and relationships because you're constantly interacting with students, parents, and colleagues and building networks that can support you personally and professionally. And strong networks, too, often lead to opportunities you wouldn't have found otherwise. And there's also the aspect of lifelong learning, too. Since teaching are always exposed to new ideas, technologies, and perspectives, and that continuous growth keeps your mind engaged and adaptable, which is increasingly important in a rapidly changing world. Financially, if you look at total compensation over time, including benefits, stability, and side income potential, teaching can be more competitive than it appears. On paper, especially when compared to careers with higher initial pay but less stability or higher stress levels. And when you factor in cost of living adjustments and strategic choices about where and how you teach, the gap can narrow even further. Another point people miss is that teaching can align with personal values, and when you work aligns with what you believe matters, it reduces the friction between your professional and personal life, which can lead to greater all satisfaction. And satisfaction is a form of return that doesn't show up in a paycheck, but absolutely it can affect your life. If you think long term, teaching also offers retirement structures too that can be advantage, especially in systems where pensions, because they provide predictability or predictable income later in life, which is something many modern career lack as they shift away from traditional retirement benefits. And then there's the creative aspect too, because teaching allows you to design lessons, experiment with methods, and bring your personality into your work and in ways that many corporate roles don't. And it gives you a sense of ownership and autonomy that can incredibly be rewarding if you're strategic. You can amplify it. How much teaching pays by choosing high demand subjects like STEM, pursuing certifications that increase pay scales, and taking on leadership roles and building side income streams that leverage your expertise, effectively turning teaching into a multi income career rather than a single paycheck job. And let's not ignore the broader economic context where job markets fluctuate and industries rise and fall. But education remains a constant need, which means teaching offers a level of resilience against economic downturns that many other professions can't guarantee. And ultimately, teaching pays in four major ways: direct salary, indirect benefits, long term stability, and personal fulfillment, too. And when you combine all four, the total value becomes much clearer, even if it's not immediately obvious at the start. So if you're evaluating whether teaching pays, you have to define what you mean by pay. Because if it's only about maximizing the short-term income, there may be other paths. But if it's about building a stable, flexible, and meaningful career with multiple avenues for growth and income, teaching holds own much more than people give it credit for. And the key is approaching it with awareness and strategy rather than assumption. Because the people who feel underpaid are often the ones who never explored the full range of opportunities within the profession. And while those who do tend to find ways to make it work with both financially and personality, in the end, teaching isn't just a job, it's a platform, and how much it pays depends largely on how you use the platform and what opportunities you pursue and how you define success. And if you understand that from the start, you can make decisions that maximize both your income and your impact over time. Thanks for watching. If you found value to this video, please subscribe. Without you, I can't grow according to YouTube. So if you would, subscribe if you found value to this video. Also, check out this video to the right. It can help you on your YouTube journey as well, and your financial journey. Also, comment down below. I always try to respond to every comment that I possibly can that is positive. If it's negative, yeah. Anyways, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good day.